So, hi everybody and welcome back to the C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 84 and in this video we are talking about functions with return type. And they are similar to functions without return type, but we have to consider only one thing, and that is actually this return type. So here our int main is a function with a return type, but we won't build our own one. And we learned in our last video we can't use anymore this int main, at least not for creating the definition, but we can call it in our int main. That's good. So first of all, what should our new function do? This is the first part, what we have to do all the time. In my case, the new function should just, let's say, print out again something, but this time my favorite color. All right, how we start this. And important is, don't forget, now we need a return type. So let's specify this also. When I want print out my favorite color, then the return type must be something like a string. Why? Because this color is probably a word, and strings and words are perfect match together. So let's use this std string. Now I have my return type, and now I want to find a very good name. Let's say print out my favorite color. It's very long, but it's absolute perfect because you read it one time, you know exactly what this function will do. And I have to correct myself because we have here a problem, but I correct it later because this is good. We can still continue. So this function should print out my favorite color, and I need again this this round brackets, and we will talk about them. They are very important later. Well, again, not in this video. We continue with our creation, and don't forget, till this point it is called again a function declaration. Let's write this function declaration, and I want to create a function definition. Let's copy this one. Let's continue with this one. And a function definition is simple, just add the curly brackets. And because this function has a type, which means this function is a function with return type, we have to use this keyword return. And what you should return is a value which matches this return type. So it must be a value which you can write in a string. And in my case, my color, my favorite color, I write in red. Let's write it red. And this solution is again a solution, very simple, straightforward, but this one is again a hard-coded value. Hard-coded value means you are not using a variable, which means if you want to change this value, the programmer must open this file, go find exactly this point and change it manually. And that's why you will not find many hard-coded values in programming. There are several which will be never changed. They will be definitely hard-coded, but we learn just to create variables. So let's replace this one here with a variable. So how we do this? Very simple. Like all time, we create first a variable, and this time again I create a local variable. Not don't use this global variables here, because this variable is only created for this purpose here, right? For this local purpose here. That's why we create here again this local variable, and I call this just std string, because again it's a string variable, and I call it my favorite color. And this time I assign it directly. We know we can assign it in different ways, but this time I know I assign it directly. And instead of using this hard-coded values, I use now this variable name. My favorite color is here. And this one, oops, not print out, only my favorite color. oops, my favorite color. Yes, it is this variable name, which I'm using now. And this one, here one info, this one will translate it to red, and red will be assigned to this place. And you see, we will have soon a problem, but let's continue. And yeah, what was the next step? We are in our int main. Our compiler reads here line by line. So we have to call this function to use it. So, okay, I want print out my favorite color. Let's call this function. Why not? And let's do this. Let's copy this one. Let's call this one. And here, function call, again, a second function call. And yeah, that's good. That looks good. But don't forget, we had learned in our last video, if we use a function call, make sure that the definition, a definition is this one, what we have here, function definition, that is our function definition, or function declaration is this one, that this definition is visible for the compiler before he calls our function. So the way was, let's repeat this one again. One way is just, let me take this one here, Control X to cut it out and put it on top. This is one way. Or if you want not do this kind of stuff and you want just list all your functions here below, so not to write on top because you are using int main on top, you can just use the other way. That was just keep it on board, keep it here and use the declaration on top. And when we use the declaration on top, it has again this special name. What was it? It was function forward declaration. It writes here already, I have commented out, is this a forward declaration? And why it is a forward declaration? Because this one makes just visible for our compiler. So the compiler knows at this point, okay, this name, what I have, what the compiler is reading here exists. He scanned this already and will try to find this definition later here in code. So let's go on. So, and if I start this program now, you'll see what happens. We have a problem. What happens here? Here it says coder. This was the first function call. That is print out my name. It jumps here to coder. But if I called my second function call here, which is my newly created function with a return type, it printed out nothing. And when we read this, of course it printed out nothing. We have here no print out statement. All right, this means we can find here different solutions actually. We can say, okay, then just write here a print out statement, right? std as it is say out, and here print out your favorite color. That's an easy solution like hell. And actually when you do this one, it's absolutely a possible solution, but then you made another thing wrong. What is it? Actually, why we created here a function with a return type. That's the reason why this makes no sense. If you create a function with a return type, that means you won't use this value here, which the function is providing you. In my case, I want use the value. I want use this value, which the function gets anyhow. In this case, I just assigned it. And then the function returns me this value, which it gets anyhow or creates anyhow, or I don't know how he gets it, but he gets it. And I just won't use it, right? So that's the problem. If you want not a return type, just use this void function, which means I don't care about a return type, just execute something. But in this case, we want to use it, and now we learn how to use it. And actually, it's very simple. You say, if this is a return type which you want to use, then use it. And how we use it, there are different ways to use it. The easiest way is, which we already know, save it in a variable and use the variable. So we will just save the return type in a variable, and let's do it. So first of all, I create here again a local variable in my int main. So it's here, but if you want, you can create this also global, but because some variables should be local, some variables not. This one and main variables can be global, but I make it not global. I still write it in int main. So I start because it's here connected anyhow, because I want to use it here and with this one. Let's write it. Okay, what I'm going to write is, first of all, it will be, first of all, I must watch what is the return type. So the return type is string. So I need a string variable because I want to save this return type in a variable. So I need also a string variable. Let's create first a string variable, std string, and now I call it my favorite color. And here I would get a problem. What is here the problem? Let's assign a default value also, which is nothing. What is the problem with this one? It's not red or something like that, but this name I already used here, but I still can use it. When I start this one, for example, it still complains not. And the reason for this one is because this one is local. You can see it here. This one is local. And if it's local, it means that it knows nothing about this other name. Local means all time that this one, that this variable which is created here is only you can use it only in this local scope. So it starts to live here, and after this point here it will be more or less destroyed. So after this function is finished, it will be destroyed. Think about this. So you create it here, and if this is existing here, it is destroying it. So we have this one, and that's why you can use this one here, because this one is created new here, and after this function here, it is also destroyed when the compiler reached this point here. But about this one, how the function or variable name storage, it's called lifespan, or yes, something like that. This is again a thing about theory and so on. This we are not going to discuss right now here. You have just to know, as long as you make this local a variable, they will not conflict. But there is another general rule. Even, and this is just yeah, let's say not a rule, it is just a best practice. Even they are not conflict, and C++ say there is no problem, you can use it, don't make it, right? Because now we have to think about scope. Now I have to think if this is used there and there not, and who knows, it still can go wrong anywhere. Instead of this one, if you know there exists already a variable with this name, or a function with this function name, or any name, if you hear any name identifier, if it's possible, just make another name. And in my case, here I find a better name. So my favorite color is very good because I want my favorite color. But let's think a little bit more. This favorite color will be, I get this favorite color here from a function, right? Because from a function return value. So I call this one get my favorite color. And this get is an indicator this one will be get anyhow. And in this case, from a function, most time if you hear get, it sounds like a getter and setter, and this getter and setter are most time associated with function, because you can get it easy from functions, and especially from these functions with a return type. So that's much talk. Let's continue to use this here. So this variable name gets his value from a function, but how? We are not finished. We have just we have created here a variable and assigned a default value in, and let's get it. So let's get this value, and just like all variables, we just write the variable name, and then we can use whatever you want. I use the simple copy initialization assignment, normal assignment operator here in this one, and then and this is again a new thing, which is we can just call the function here at this point. And important here is with this round brackets, don't forget them, not just only the function name. These round brackets are very important, so write them as well. And that's it. So this variable is now getting the function value with this function. This is also a function call, by the way, but within an assignment. And yes, now when I start this one, we have still the problem that I have get the variable. Of course, I have to use this variable, and we use it like all time with std cout. Yes, my favorite. And then here I can write, for example, this one here. Let's copy this one and let's write it here. And yeah, this works, and actually print out my favorite color here I don't need. So let's get rid of this one and let's start, and we see it works. Of course, you can make a new line here so that you have it. Let's do it fast. Where I do it here. Before I do a new line, I want to show you one more thing. This function call, which I used for the variable with the assignment, you can avoid this too. You can just call the function actually here on the outprint directly. So I can just call this function print out my favorite color, but careful, you see it complains not, but don't use this one. You have to use this round brackets as well. We will talk about this probably in the next video because they are so important. But if you do this one, now this function call is the same like a normal function call, and it will return this value red. And this works only because this std cout can print all what a string is. It is defined for this one. So that's why it can print out this value here. And when we start this one, it works. Yes, and of course the new line, don't forget this new line thing here, what I mentioned before. Let's write here also a new line. Actually not at this point, I think, but I think this will work. Here also, let's write here also a new line. Why not? So to make it sure. And yeah, we have this works so fine. This is nice. And let's recap this fast. So the only thing what you have to think about a function with a return type is think about this return type, use this return keyword. You can choose create here a variable, or you use this hard-coded, and then you have of course used this function in comparison to the void function which we created in our last video. There we just call it. The void function is just to call, and it is doing something. In this case it is just printing out coder. And the function with the return type which we created here, you have to work a little bit more because you use this function with the intention to get a value, because that's all about this function. You want to get a value which is calculated, or yeah, this function here can be again a big code. It's the same like int main, right? So this int main you see here on top is also a function, just a function. And you saw in our last videos in this exercise, I wrote there a 1,000 line of codes, and the similar thing can happen here too. For example, in our here, this little print string function can end up later also with 1,000 line of codes, and in the end it is just getting a value, and this value will be used. All right, I think I stop now here. And again, if you have any questions or complaints, write them in the comments. And in the next video, we are talking about this round brackets. They are absolute important. And yeah, with that said, bye and good luck.